Hello and welcome. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at the Mijello Mission Gold Pure Pigment set and setting them up in a very unique palette. So I bought these paints June 25th of 2022, and they have been sitting in my undone drawer for all this time. It's time we get them out, compare them to the Mijello paints that I already have, and use this very unique palette that I think you might like. Here are the Mijello Mission Gold paints that I already own. Quite a few. I bought the 36 set that came with this palette back in 2020. I do have a video setting this up, testing them out, and painting with them several times. I don't have them in a specific playlist, but if you search Mission Gold on my channel, you should be able to find them. So I'm curious if any of these are going to be duplicates with the Pure Pigment set. So let's open these up and see what we have in there. There's a whole list. Brochure. That's in English even. Bonus. The 5 standards of Mission watercolors. There's English. No, that's not. Wow, they have them all mixed up. I have no idea what's going on there. Very fancy wrapping here. And nice, huge tubes. These are great. These are 15 ml tubes, and they don't count the black and white. So you get 24 colors and a black and a white, which is kind of a bummer because I enjoy having black and white in my palettes. But this very unique palette we're going to set up does not have room for more than 24 paints unless I do something different, which I may. I have an idea. So let's take a look at these and see if there are any duplicates just by color name so far, because I didn't write the pigments on here. This was in the days before I knew how important that would be to me later. So lemon yellow is in here, permanent yellow light, permanent yellow deep. So already 3 duplicates, dang it. Autumn orange is new, so that's great. Red orange is new. I have a permanent red here, but this one says it's permanent red deep, so I'll pull the tubes out and we'll compare those. Rose madder is a duplicate. This is a duplicate. This one's new, new. So I have a cobalt hue blue number 1, and this is a cobalt blue number 2. It doesn't say it's a hue, it just says cobalt blue number 2. Cerulean blue is a duplicate. Phthalo blue is new. Ultramarine light is new because this one has ultramarine deep in it. Cobalt turquoise hue. Oh, I'm very glad to have that color. It's one of my most favorites. Viridian's a duplicate. Bamboo green is new. Cobalt green deep is new. When I say new, it's not new to this set, it's new to me. Meaning I don't have a tube of it already. Green gold is new. I have a greenish yellow, but not a green gold. That'll be nice. Yellow ochre number 2, and this one has yellow ochre number 1, so that's new. Burnt sienna number 2. I have just regular burnt sienna in that one. Red brown is a duplicate, and Van Dyke brown is a duplicate. So not horrible. I wasn't quite sure how many of these would be duplicates. Good to see there are several new colors in here for me. The ivory black and the Chinese white also came in this original 36 set, so they're duplicates. So let's pull these out. I'll show you all the duplicates here. So here at a glance are the colors that are new to me and the ones that are duplicates. The original set had all tubes of this size, and I was getting a little bit low in the tubes on a few of them, so this is great. But what I will do is just double check that even though it says lemon yellow, that it's actually the same lemon yellow as this one. So I'll pull my old tubes out and we'll take a look at those. I've pulled out my tubes that are equal to these, and yes, everything on them is exactly the same. The pigment number is the same, all the information is the same, the pigment code is the same, so we are good to go. What I will do is use my little tubes to fill up this new palette and keep these unopened and intact because these are getting pretty old and I should use them up. Let's take a look at this unique palette. This is very cheap plastic. It is pretty sturdy though, all in all. And it is for nails or nail decorating, I believe. So I found this on Amazon a while ago, and it has 2 layers. It's a double-decker palette, and you just pull the top layer off, and then you have room for 24 paints. So pretty unique there. You just have to make sure, because this second layer sits on these little tabs that you see here. So you have to just make sure you're not filling the paint above the well, but these are big wells. It should be pretty easy to keep them under there. There's just that little bit, probably 1/16 of an inch leeway between the top layer and the bottom layer. I have no idea how this is going to work, if it's going to be an awesome palette or a total disaster in the future, but I think that it's kind of cool and unique, relatively thin, it latches and it's secure in its latch. I'm excited to try it. Plus, I really like round wells. I have another Mission Gold palette that I made with round wells, and I'll link that video for you in the corner in the description box below, because it was kind of a disaster but kind of a success, and it's a really cool palette that I love. So here we have yet another Mission Gold palette with round wells, which is kind of cool. Also, because I have these two layers, I thought about kind of doing a split palette. So not putting them down here in order, but putting the top layer colors that I could use all together. So some of the yellows, some of the blues, some of the reds, and then doing the same thing with this one, maybe colors that I would use less, or maybe yet another kind of split palette. What I mean by that is if I open this and I don't want to take that top layer out, I can just use these 12 colors really easily and do a very successful painting with all of my, maybe my favorite or my most used colors. And then I would only need to pull the top layer off if I wanted to get to some more of the unique colors or the less used colors. I haven't decided yet. What would you guys do if you had a split palette like this? I'm calling it a split palette, but you know what I mean. You only need to take the top layer off if you want to, kind of thing. Which means now I have to do some heavy thinking here, because what colors are gonna go where? I don't know. I should probably, boy, this is gonna be hard. Okay, well, we're just gonna think, and in the meantime, I'm going to procrastinate by getting my tube squeezer out so I can get all the paint out of some of these ones that are more used up. Okay, I might regret this, but I think I made my decisions on the order of the colors in the palette. This could be scary, and I'm wondering if I should give it some more time, give it some more thought, but I kind of just want to go for it. Well, here they are. My color choices. I don't know. I almost wanted this beautiful cobalt turquoise hue in the main palette, but I don't use it a lot, even though it's one of my favorite colors. So I think I'm going to put it in the secondary palette. That's the only one I'm really wondering if I might regret not having up here. I don't know. And then they only have Viridian, Bamboo Green, and Cobalt Green Deep. But when I open this Cobalt Green Deep up, it looks very turquoise-like. So I don't think it's going to be anything like a Hooker's Green or a Sap Green or an Olive Green, anything like that. It's just truly going to be a turquoise green. Part of the disadvantage of doing this is these aren't all swatched out. And maybe I should take some time and swatch them all out so I know exactly what the colors are, but that just kind of wastes more paint. If I just put it in the palette and swatch it from the palette, then it's all just in one go. I don't know. Too many decisions to be made here. So I think I'm just gonna go with this and put all these colors in the second layer. And if I find I'm always lifting this out, then maybe I can pop colors out and switch them. I suspect that probably won't work, but maybe I could. Or I just always pull the first layer off and use both layers when I paint. We'll see. All right, well, let's go for it. I'm just gonna show filling one well because you don't wanna sit there through all of this. And I did notice, because I opened a bunch of lids to see what the color kind of looked like, there is a lot of binder separation. So that is something to keep in mind. And I want to put plenty of color in here, so this is long term. This is a commitment. It's a commitment. Yeah, I know. I just put that lid on. Messy tube. So sue me. All right, I'll do the rest of these and then I'll get back with you guys. Okay, the first layer is all filled, but there are two colors where there was binder separation. One on the new tube and one on one of my old tubes. So I'm just gonna take some toothpicks, stir those together, and then we'll do the second layer. Let me show you what I have so far. It looks so pretty. Just look at this gorgeousness. It is so pretty. So this cobalt blue number 2 had some separation here. So I'm just going to stir that together. I don't know how well that will do, but I assume if there's a bunch of extra binder or whatever, it'll mix right in there. Hopefully, looks like it is. It's a very pretty blue. And the other one was my old Van Dyke brown. And I made that a little extra full. Good thing these are very liquidy, at least most of them. These 3 here were a little bit more firm. The rest just kind of melted into these wells. It was awesome. Now I know there's a lot of binder separation on some of these over here because I opened them up to look at the colors like I mentioned before. So hopefully it's not too much. And because I need to switch to the second layer, I'm just going to take a picture of this so that I can put these tubes away and know what my colors were. Ta-da! And we'll move to the second layer. Here's the pretty second layer. There's binder separation, it looks like only in these two. This is the Cobalt Green Deep, and the one next to it is the Yellow Ochre number 2. And it used up all of my permanent yellow light. I just put the cap back on so it wouldn't get all over everything. There's enough red brown in here. I'm going to fill up my little red brown slot that I have in my micro portable painter because it is not completely full, and I'm afraid if I leave just this tiny bit of paint in here that it'll dry up in there. I'll squeeze that out into that palette and should be good. Glad that I have a whole 15 ml tube of that left because that's a really neat color. I'm enjoying that in the micro portable painter for sure. What's cool about this, the way I split these colors up, is I could use either layer and have a successful painting experience. There's enough bright yellows and blues and reds and pinks and browns on each layer to paint with it independently, which is awesome. Kind of what I was hoping for. I was hoping it would turn out that way. I'm going to stir this cobalt turquoise hue up a little bit because it came out really thick from the tube, and so it's not kind of melting down into the round pan like the others. So if I kind of just stir it together and flatten it a bit, that should work. And I'll do the same thing with the cerulean blue because it didn't really sink down. Just kind of, can't push it down, but stirring it works. Cool. And then I want black and white, and I actually thought about, I just made a mess of myself. I'm really good at that. That's what happens when you use the same paper towel to pull off wet paint from a toothpick over and over. It gets all over you. Anyway, I thought about putting black and white on both layers because it'd be kind of cool to have access to them. And what I'll do for that is squeeze that into this paintbrush section. I have a little paintbrush that I might be able to fit in here even with these on the edges like this. That white is looking kind of nasty. Anyway, the brush I'm thinking might fit in there is a Da Vinci brush, and it's pretty short. So I'm going to go ahead and put white in both of these layers. I don't use it much, so it doesn't need to be a big pile of white. But sometimes it's nice to have in there, and I have it, so I might as well use it. And I'll put black on the other side. I actually should have put white over there and black over here. That was silly. I actually think I might switch those. Can I? How can I grab those and switch them? I really want to switch them. I'll just grab a gouache brush and we'll switch them. There, that was fairly painless. Might add a little bit more on that one because there's not all that much in there. Do the same thing over here. Yikes. Doing that left-handed. Why am I doing that left-handed? There, let's switch that to the right hand. Okay, luckily I have been keeping water on my desk to make painting more accessible. No excuses not to paint because these have screw-on lids, so I don't have to worry about the cats getting into dirty water or anything because I just screwed the lid on. So that's kind of neat. I haven't been home yet to use that to my advantage, but now that my work week is over and it's Wednesday, my work week is over Tuesday night. Hopefully this will be kind of a fun thing to take advantage of. I'm not going to worry about cleaning the little bit of white that's left in there out because it's not much. And then see, just put the lid back on my jar and I can leave it on my desk and not worry about my kittens. And I'm literally just going to put the black right over that white. It's such a small amount of white. I doubt it'll make a difference. Plus I have all these beautiful dark browns in this set, so I probably won't even use the black very much, but I'll have it in case I want it. There. How fun is this? They're so beautiful. Also, this band came in the box. I'm not sure why, but it would make a great band to hold a palette together. I have a couple palettes that don't latch. My Paul Rubens Emerald palette doesn't latch, and my Himi Mia palette doesn't latch, so I'll put it to good use, that's for sure. The hair tie that I've been using to hold my Himi palette is getting frayed right there, so it needs replaced. Perfect timing. Well, I have to go to an appointment, so I'll probably be out of the house for an hour and a half. These aren't going to dry much, if at all, because Mission Gold paints are very fluid anyway. They're very wet, sticky most of the time. But maybe it will help when I come back to do some swatching that it'll be a little stickier, just a little stickier. I don't know. It's a pipe dream, I'm sure. And now the fun part of making the swatch sheets that go in the palette itself. So I just take measurements, and it was fun to get my circle template out and use that for this. Left room for the labels. And the way I like to do my swatch sheets is partly with water. You can see I'm putting water just down on the lower, probably 2/3, and then kind of get a mass tone at the top to a gradient. And I like to put salt up the right side if there's room. And there's no other reason for the salt than that it's neat to see how each color reacts with salt, and it makes the swatch sheet look really pretty and interesting. That's the best advantage right there. Now this particular footage is sped up by 1000%, so this took a while, but I will have real-time swatching for my main watercolor project sheets, which I've mentioned in previous videos, where I'm going to categorize them. I'll have that released next week, so you'll be able to see the real-time swatching and a lot more detail on the pigment information and my thoughts on each color in that video. And I had some scrap pieces of Arches 100% cotton 140-pound paper that I am swatching this on, so that was fun to use up some of that. And I can tell you guys, as far as my no-buy goes, I am not going through very many supplies. I had so many drawers full of things I hadn't even gotten to last year and the year before that, that I'd probably be pulling out new stuff for the rest of the year and then finally using up some old supplies. But it is fun to pull out some paper scraps like I have for this and see what papers I haven't used yet, like that Gen Crafts. I finally got to try that out. Things like that have been pretty fun. Look at that cobalt green deep. That's kind of a really cool, unique color, isn't it? Anyway, scroll moment there. But yeah, the no-buy's going well. It's fine. There's 2 things that I think I've wanted, and I'll update you on that later. Here are my swatch sheets for each layer all dry. And this is what this looks like after, when did I start that? Probably 5 days ago. There's a couple of them that are pretty dry, like this one I can push down and not get any paint on my hand, but this yellow ochre, yes, yellow ochre number 2 is still really soft. And any of these that are super flat and liquidy are pretty soft still. Let me show you the other pan. Here's this. So you can see this one's cracked apart quite a bit. And that is the dioxazine violet. This one has a little bit of cracking, and so does that one. Cracking is no big deal to me, especially in these, because they're still soft in there. They're just cracked apart a little bit. So when I add water to paint with them, it'll be fine. And none of these are sticky anymore. Let me double check. Maybe this one's just shiny. Oh, nope, it's still sticky. Ha! See the fingerprint I just made in it? Black looks very sticky. Yeah, the black is super sticky. So I have 2 pictures from when I went to Vietnam, China, and Hong Kong with my friend back in 2009. And I'm going to use my Etcher A5 sketchbook. And I'm going to paint one of the pictures with the bottom layer of paint and the other picture with the top layer of paint, because both of these are cohesive palettes in my opinion. The only thing we're really missing is an earthy green. And these pictures have quite a bit of green in them, so we'll be mixing some greens with the greens we have in each layer, so that should be fun. Let's get to it. I am considering this my warm-up painting because I actually hadn't painted in days and days. And so I think it shows in this painting. It's not one that I'm fully happy with, but I love the colors, actually. I love a lot about it. There's just some of the details in the boats I should have spent more time on. Really, that's the only thing, is the boats and the buildings didn't work out for me to be happy with it, but it was a great warm-up painting, and like I mentioned, the colors were really fun to use. And I used that washi tape. That's why I have 2 clips on it, because I used that washi tape from Amazon, and this particular pattern has no stick to it. In fact, I tore off several layers to get one that was even kind of sticky. I almost threw the whole roll away, and then I'm like, well, let me try peeling off several layers, see if it's stickier underneath, and it was a little bit. So I'll use it up, but that's about it. And luckily there's a couple of the rolls that do have good sticky on it, so I can at least get some good use out of a few of the rolls at least. And I'm kind of intrigued with that cobalt green deep. I used that in the water, and it's pretty darn cool. It's a neat color. I really like it. Not to mention, this layer of palette, all the colors in it are really useful. I enjoyed using this layer quite a bit, even though, you know, I'm not fully happy with my boats in this painting. The layers and the paint was great. It was a little tricky because some of the paint was still pretty wet underneath, so I got the top layer wet and it kind of soaked in and really made the pigment strong, so sometimes I got way too much pigment, but I figured it out in the end. It turned out just fine as far as working with the paint. A couple of the puddles were strong. You can see I'll start the next painting here eventually, and I wiped this lid off so that I don't use these colors accidentally when I'm trying to use just the top layer. But these pictures from Vietnam are really nice. I have several more that I wouldn't mind painting, and I wouldn't mind painting some of these again, these two pictures again, because they're really just pretty. And this is a small page and a small sketchbook, so doing these in a larger scale would be really fun. I think I mentioned that again at the end, so sorry if that's a repeat, but I just love these pictures, and the pictures don't even do it justice in person. Everything was so breathtaking. All the colors were amazingly beautiful. And we actually went out on one of these boats. They call them junk boats, and we had a little cabin in there, and we stayed in the cabin overnight and just kind of cruised the waters and went through little rock tunnels and went swimming. It was so much fun. Just a great experience. And this palette is awesome, you guys. You can see that some of it, the paint beads up here and there, but not very much. And the big round wells are wonderful to have to work with. Now we get to move on to the painting that actually turned out really pretty, that I really love. And it really helps that the picture had a lot of contrast, create a striking composition really. It had this fence leading you into things, and I just love the picture, love the painting, love the top layer of this palette. All those colors were really fun too, and I just really had fun with this one and made me quite happy. Some of my standout colors that I really like to use in this palette were the Van Dyke Brown and the Quinacridone Violet along with the Ultramarine Light. I mixed those three together to get a really nice dark once I start the fence post. You'll see that here in a minute. Also, it was not too hard to get a good green with the bamboo green, and then I just mixed some blue and yellow into it. A little bit of orange actually here and there too, which is kind of surprising, but it worked and I liked it. And I don't necessarily forget about this, but every time I pull out my Mission Gold paints, I am pleasantly surprised again at how easy they are to use. They re-wet like a dream. The colors are exactly what they're represented on my swatch sheet. They are just beautiful. Oh, how did I lose footage there? Oh, my camera battery died and it doesn't like ding or anything. So I painted the fence post dark, realized I didn't have a camera going. So that's all you missed, just some dark color with those three color combinations I already told you about. Also, I consciously chose to make this right side of the picture not as dark as the reference photo. So if you're wondering, well, why isn't it as dark? Why isn't it as much in shadow? Well, that was my choice, and I also wanted to leave that water puddle out. I kind of debated on that. You can see that puddle on the sidewalk because it does kind of reflect and pull together the water in the background, but at the same time I thought it was kind of a distracting blob, so I chose to leave it out. So I did do a bunch of color mixing in here, particularly with the greens and the dark colors, and having the pure pigment set is probably working much to my advantage there because it is a less likely chance of getting muddy colors when you're only dealing with one pigment per color. So that is a comforting feeling when you're working with these paints. And apparently I didn't notice until just now when I'm editing, I lost the footage of me painting the fence posts. The fence, what are they? The rails. I don't know how that happened, and I apologize because that is one of my favorite parts of this painting, but you'll see it completed here at the end. I just want to enhance a few things on this one, and I think I forgot a little bit of roof color. Luckily I keep water on my desk now. So I'm going to use the fine liner. This is equivalent of a 0.5, and just kind of make some things stand out on this a little bit more. And I really need to get my Micron PN out. I grabbed one from upstairs and forgot to bring it back downstairs. Anyway, PNs work way better on this rougher paper than these regular felt tip Micron type of points. You know what I mean? I think you know what I mean. Hopefully you know what I mean. My point is the Micron PNs work better on watercolor paper. Well, here we have the Mission Gold Pure Pigment set in a really cool, unique palette that was made for nails, apparently. How fun is that? Well, that was really fun. I'm gonna have to try this one again on bigger paper, I think, and maybe even this one. This one's kind of a really neat composition, and it could look great as a bigger painting. And I think I might do a little artistic license and darken the sky a little bit to bring some of the darks that are down here kind of up there. So just a little darker blue, and I could do it now, but I'm going to give it some time to sit and then decide later. But I love the green coming into the water here and the blue back here. It's one of my favorite parts, and the double colors on the fence. Really like this one. Alright guys, in probably 1 week I will have a follow-up video to this one, letting you guys know again all the duplicates in the Mission Gold Pure Pigment set versus the 36 set. Also the duplicates that I probably have in my little travel palette that I recently got, and if you missed that video, I'll link that one up there for you. I'll link both Mission Gold videos that I've done previously, like when I first got the 36 set and when I got that little travel palette. They'll be linked in the description box below, so you can look for those there. Alright guys, I will see you in the next video. Bye for now. Here are the here. Yes, procrastination. Procrastinate the decision. Just look at this gorgeousness. It is so gorgeous. I just said gorgeous twice. Ah, that's all right. He just wants someone to play with him. Just someone.
She's panting.
Is she? Is she a hot kitty? Molly! And they're not even playing anymore. It's nice to walk up to that every single time we go on a walk.